Well, this is a new chapter, chapter 52 of, oh, excuse me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 This is a new chapter, chapter 52 of Canto 10 of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Rukmini's Message to Lord Krishna. I'll just read the summary of the chapter at the beginning. This follows on from the chapter called The Deliverance of Muchukunda, which is also a very lovely story. Krishna books, 10th canto is the essence of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Actually, the 10th canto, 96 chapters, and it's pretty much half the Bhagavatam. And if we think of how Prabhupada describes Bhagavad Gita, that there's 18 chapters in Bhagavad Gita, and he explains that the essence of the Bhagavad Gita is in chapters 7 to 12, which is the middle 6 chapters. And he says the first 6 and the last 6 are there to protect that central part of the Gita. And there's a progression through the 6 chapters, first 6 chapters about yoga. And then the conclusion of that is that bhakti yoga, that actually everyone should be a yogi, which is a pretty strange message to give somebody in the 21st century, that there's fruitive workers, there's empiricists, and then there's ascetics. But above them all is yogis, and you should be a yogi. We're basically telling everybody that. But there's a progression. And in terms of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the first 9 cantos are preparing us for the 10th canto. And then the 11th and 12th cantos, especially the 11th canto. 11th canto is also a very important canto, in that it deals with, as Borjan Prabhu calls his commentary on Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavatam. He's written 2 books called Unveiling His Lotus Feet, which deals with the first 2 cantos. But then he has a book now called A Backward Glance, which deals with the 11th and 12th cantos. And in the 11th canto, we have a very significant set of instructions over, I think it's 24 chapters. Chapter 5 to 29 of the 11th canto is what is called the Uddhava Gita, where Krishna gives very, very detailed and intimate instructions about devotional service to Uddhava, which is in one sense is like chapter 18 of the Bhagavad Gita, how chapter 18 of the Bhagavad Gita is in relationship to the previous entire Bhagavad Gita, 17 chapters. It's called the perfection of renunciation. It's a conclusion. And the 11th canto is a conclusion. It brings Krishna's, the purpose of Krishna's pastimes and appearance and instructions to a conclusion. And then Krishna leaves this world. and he leaves behind the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam has arisen like the sun at the beginning of the Kali Yuga, just after Krishna's departure from this world, where he withdraws his pastimes, and knowledge, renunciation, all good qualities go with him, and then the age of Kali begins. And what we have here, I'm just doing thumbnail things to get us to the point where we are here. Following on from this story of the deliverance of Muchukunda, we have the chapter 52, which is called Rukmini's Message to Lord Krishna. This is just the beginning of Krishna's pastimes outside of Vrindavan. I was just reflecting as I was saying that last time I was here, Akrura was just arriving in Vrindavan to take Krishna to Mathura. And we've gone through all of that. Kamsa's been killed, Kubja's been delivered, Kavala, I never get my mouth around the elephant's name. Kuvalya Pita, he's been killed. The flower lady's been benedicted. So many wonderful things have happened. In the meantime, Jarasanda's got wind of what's going on and what's happened in the killing of Kamsa, and now he's attacking. So Krishna goes and establishes Dwarka and really establishes himself now as a king. And in the process of doing that, up to this point of the deliverance of Muchukunda and the previous chapter, Krishna the Ranchor, he supposedly runs away from the battlefield, and that reflects later on when Krishna and Arjuna and Bhima, go in disguise to challenge Jarasandha in his own kingdom, and they come in disguise, but then they reveal themselves, Arjuna, Bhima, and Krishna, and they want to fight with him. And even though Krishna's destroyed, I think he's 17 times, he destroys all of the army of Jarasandha and sends him back over to Mithila, which is now present day, what's that state? Oh, I forgot the name of the state. You've got Uttar Pradesh, and then you've got this. Anyway, it's in the eastern side of India, where Jarasandha was based. Can't remember the name. Anyway, 17 times. He doesn't kill Jarasandha. He doesn't kill him, which is really what is meant to happen in fights between Kshatriyas. You fight to the death, but Krishna every time completely humiliated him, destroyed all his army, and sent him packing back to his kingdom. And he gathered up another army and came back, and Krishna did it again and again and again. But then on that the final time, at a certain point during the battle, Krishna left the battlefield. And he's called Rancho, meaning basically, as far as Jarasandha is concerned, despite the fact that Krishna's defeated him all these times, he can now say, well, you're a coward. You've left the battlefield. But of course, if you read these stories, he left for a very specific purpose. And again, I forget names. Who was the one who followed him? Kalayavana. Huh? Kalayavana, who was a great ally of Jarasandha in this last battle. he chased Krishna, and Krishna drew him into the cave where Muchukunda was sleeping. And Muchukunda, these stories are so far out. Muchukunda was a great king from many, many eras before, from the previous yuga. He'd been fighting on behalf of the demigods against the demons in the heavenly planets. This is something we need to understand too, that there is a perennial battle, perennial war. They talk about now, everybody's complaining about forever wars. They don't want another forever war, but there is within the material world forever a war going on between the demons and the devotees, the demigod, the suras and the asuras. Since the world began, since the creation began, this has been going on. And that's also shown in the Bhagavatam right from the beginning of the twin demons of Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, and then the incarnations of Lord Varaha and Lord Nrsimhadev. That's right near the beginning of the creation. But this has been going on. And Muchukunda, as a great devotee, was fighting on behalf of the demigods against the demons. And he became very exhausted, and he wanted a break. So the demigod said, "Yes, you can go and rest now," because he was a mere human being. He wasn't a demigod, but still he had great prowess, and he was fighting for the demigod. So they gave him the benediction that he could sleep for as long as he wanted, and they gave him also the power that anyone who woke him up, he could burn them to ashes with fire from his eyes. Pretty good idea, actually. Let me sleep. Just let me sleep. So Krishna leads Kali Yavana into this cave and wakes, and in the process of it, causes Muchukunda to be woken up. But Krishna hides himself, and the first thing Muchukunda sees is Kali Yavana, and he burns into ashes. And then Krishna appears before him, and there's an exchange between Krishna and Muchukunda. Then Muchukunda leaves the cave to go to the north. That gets dealt with. Why that is dealt with at the beginning of this chapter, because the message from Rukmini comes in a little bit later in this chapter. It doesn't come in right at the beginning of the chapter. We have this transition from what happens then after Muchukunda leaves the cave and Krishna goes back, and in the meantime Lord Balaram's dealt with Jarasandha anyway. And then there's a whole collection of booty and so forth, and it's taken back to Dwarka. In the meantime, Rukmini's brother, Rukmi, has been arranging for Rukmini to marry Shishupal. And Shishupal is another demon who is it's very inimical towards Krishna. Krishna tolerates a lot from Shishupal because we see so often with demons, Krishna just kills them. Just that's it, kill the demons. He doesn't mess around with the demons, which is a part of the purpose of his appearance. Paritanaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam. Vinashaya, just the duskritina, just kill him. It comes to the point sometimes where that just has to happen, because one thing about the demons, just we see like with Jarasandha, they're incorrigible. They're incorrigible. Thank you so much. They're incorrigible. It doesn't matter how much you beat them down. They just come back up again and make arrangements to cause trouble just again and again and again. Because of pride, really, that's explained by Krishna in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the divine and demoniac natures. At the core of the nature of the demon is pride. So in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in verses 8 to 12, Krishna describes 20 points that he declares to be knowledge, and everything else is ignorance. And the first 2 points are humility and pridelessness, meaning the quality of the devotee is humility, and the quality of the demon is pride. So humility and pridelessness. I think I've made the joke about this before here. I do it. This is one of my jokes. So you do your jokes in different places and then you forget. But anyway, you can't be proud of your humility. And you can't be humble about your pride. It's chalk and cheese. They don't go together at all. If you want to be humble, there can be no pride. And if you're prideful, there's no humility. So this is what distinguishes the basic distinction between devotees and demons. A prideful person may lose everything, but they still have their pride. This is such a pernicious thing, pride, because it completely belies the fundamental understanding that everything is dependent upon Krishna. And this is again, at the core of the pride of the demon is hatred of Vishnu. And not just hatred of Vishnu, but we see with Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, you could more or less say, are the inaugural demons of the creation. They want to kill him. They don't just hate him, they want to annihilate him. But it's such a crazy thing. A, it can't be done. But B, just posit the proposition that it could be done, then it's simply destroying everything. Because even the demons, like we see with Prahlad, when Hiranyakashipu says, where do you get the strength to defy me like this? And Prahlad says, from the same place you get your strength. Everything comes from Vishnu. Everything comes from Krishna. Everything is dependent on Krishna. Everything. In 2 ways. We think about depend. You say, well, we all depend on air. We all depend on food. We're dependent and that means we're dependent on Krishna for supply. Everything that we need is supplied by the Lord. But then that's one side of dependence. But then the other side is the determination of how things will be. Like we say, well, what about this? They said, well, that depends on, and then you talk about circumstances. So the outcome of anything depends totally on the Lord. We are all full of desires. We want so many things, but we are dependent. We can't fulfill our own desires. They have to be fulfilled by someone else. And ultimately, that someone else is Krishna. It may come down through a long chain, and that's where the whole situation of the demigods comes in. less intelligent people think that the rain is being supplied by Indra, and that so many, and you go through the list of the demigods, that's the beginning of the second canto, where it's chapter 3. Yeah, chapter 3. At the beginning of chapter 3, for the first 9 verses, or first 7 verses, there's a huge list of all different demigods that you can approach for different things. But then Sukadeva explains, well, actually, it all depends on Krishna. Akama mokshakamo va savakama rudaradi bhakti yoga nativrina yajita paramam puman. That akama means you may be free from material desires. You may have no material desires. Akama mokshakama, you may desire liberation from entanglement in matter. Or you may be savakama, you want all things material. You're full of material desire. Then the conclusion is bhakti yoginas tivrina. You approach the Lord because all things come from the Lord. So the position of the demons, therefore, is very, very dangerous, because they're always planning and executing those plans to destroy everything, ultimately to destroy everything. But they don't realize that's what they're doing, because they are so full of pride that they think they can become the rulers of everything. They don't understand. They don't understand. And when there's a predominance of these kind of people in the world, then the Lord appears and resets the situation. Krishna, one of the important things of Krishna's appearance is to reset the world, so that the demons are not causing disturbance anymore. But that's all temporary. As soon as it's done, then it begins again. So we're at this point here now where Krishna's, he's left Vrindavan. All of the Vrindavan Leela is behind him in terms of his mission in the world. And now he's out in the world and he's setting things to rights, which culminates with the Battle of Kurukshetra. This is a huge drama. This is a huge, huge, multifaceted drama with so many interwoven themes and little vignette stories, just like with this one of Muchukunda. Like I was saying, Muchukunda comes from a previous age. That's leading me to another very important point about this, that Muchukunda, he's not from Dwapara Yuga. Yeah, he's from probably way back further than that. But he's now at the end of the Dwapara Yuga. He's asleep in this cave, sleeping off his exhaustion from millions of years of fighting in the heavenly planets. Because, well, millions of Earth years transpire with just a short time in the heavenly planets and higher. What does it say? That one day of life on Indra's planet is 6 months. 12 hours of time on Indra's planet is 6 months of time on this planet. And on it goes up to the point where we see earlier in the 10th canto when Brahma steals the cowherd boys and the calves and hides them away. It says, a moment later, he came back to see how Krishna was reacting to all of this. And meantime, a year's gone by. And what to speak of the Lord blinks and a life of Brahma has gone by. Or the Lord breathes out. Mahavishnu breathes out and all the universes come into existence. And then he breathes in and they're finished. And that's a lifetime of Brahma. One breath out, one breath in of the Lord. So Muchakunda's there. And after he wakes up and he burns Kali Yavana and has his exchange with Krishna, he leaves. And one thing he notices as soon as he leaves the cave is everything's smaller. Everything's smaller. The trees are smaller, the hills are smaller, everything's smaller. Because we're coming to the end of the Dwapara Yuga and the beginning of the Kali Yuga. It's these transition overlaps, I call it sandhyas, where you have, I think it's 5 or 15,000 years at the end of one, the beginning of the other, where there's still vestiges of the old and not the full manifestation of the new. Which brings up a very interesting point about why Lord Chaitanya's mission is going on now, only 5,000 years into the Kali Yuga. Look how difficult it all is now. Look how crazy this world is now, only 5,000 years into Kali Yuga. Can you imagine trying to spread the Sankirtan movement 100,000 years from now? And you're only 1/4 of the way into the Kali Yuga. What to speak of, say, 200,000 years from now? Things are going to be so degraded, so crazy. I mean, you just can't keep track of the madness in the world as it is now. Older people, all the older people I meet, they say, never seen the world so mad. And we've had World War in the last 100 years. We've had World War I, World War II, the Cold War, so many things. I was down at the one museum. Remember Robert who came last night? He took me to some museum. I can't remember which one it was in London. But they had a whole thing there about the history of aviation, from like people going up in hot air balloons to now what exists. And it's a little over 100 years. Such development has gone on, and what can be done with weaponry and so forth now. It's just mind-boggling. And this is only 5,000 years into Kali Yuga. So it's very important, actually, that Lord Chaitanya's mission takes 10,000 years. It's from 5,000 years into Kali Yuga to 15,000 years into Kali Yuga. That's when Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement is, because pretty much that's the only time when there's a possibility. After that, things are just too crazy. Too crazy. So Muchakunda's leaving the cave. And actually, that was the verse, the second verse. We'll come to that. Verse 1 and 2. I'll just read the English. Sukadev Goswami said, "My dear king, thus graced by Lord Krishna, Muchakunda circumambulated him and bowed down to him. Then Muchakunda, the beloved descendant of Ikshvaku, exited through the mouth of the cave. Seeing that the size of all the human beings, animals, trees, plants was severely reduced, and thus realizing that the age of Kali was at hand, Muchakunda left for the north." Purport. There are several significant words in this verse. A standard Sanskrit dictionary gives the following English meanings for the words shulaka, for the word shulaka, little, small, low, vile, poor, indigent, wicked, malicious, abandoned, hard, pain, distress. These are the symptoms of the age of Kali Yuga. And all these qualities are said to have here an application to men, animals, plants, and trees in this age. We who are enamored of ourselves and our environment can perhaps imagine the superior quality and living conditions available to people in former ages. Things are already so reduced in that regard because in former ages, all plants bore fruit, all trees bore fruit, all flowers had aroma, and things were much bigger. I had a friend who went to Kashmir one time, and Kashmir, it's interesting how Kashmir is such a flashpoint between India and Pakistan, because Kashmir was always known as the playground of the gods. A fabulously beautiful place, Kashmir. I mean, again, it's getting destroyed now. But this would have been 50 years ago now, more than 50 years, maybe 52, 53 years ago. My friend went to Kashmir on his honeymoon. And he said they were staying in a place by a lake. And the boatman took he and his wife out on the lake to just look at things, and he said there were lotus flowers, nice lotus flowers and all kinds. And then the boatman indicated to him, well, there's a hidden lake over there, and there was this trees across. He said, there's another hidden lake in there that I can show you. So they went in, it was like, I think, weepy willow trees. So they went in and through and around. And he said they came out into another lake, and he said it was like coming onto a heavenly planet. And he said, whereas in the other lake there were lotus flowers, he said in this lake there were lotus flowers, huge lotus flowers with a huge wall. And he immediately understood of how, he said you could have stepped out and stood on the lotus flower. They were so big. Which is just a vestige of what was there before. But this is all rapidly disappearing and diminishing down. So this is a very, what was that statement? We who are enamored of ourselves and our environment can perhaps imagine the superior beauty and living conditions available to people in former ages. This needs to be understood. History needs to be understood. Genuine history needs to be understood for us to understand how gradually things are diminishing in the Kali Yuga, how all the good qualities of human beings are just being destroyed, how important, therefore, our regulative principles are. These regulative principles are not just things that you're not allowed to do. I use the Australian accent there because sometimes when you're trying to explain things to people, they say, oh, yeah, but you Hare Krishnas, you're not allowed to drink, are you? Well, I choose not to. Yeah, but you don't know what you're missing out on. But what people don't understand is because Dharma is going now. And these regulative principles that we follow, they uphold the four pillars of Dharma, of mercy, cleanliness, austerity, and truthfulness. Dharma rests upon these things. So long as there is truthfulness, there is truthfulness, cleanliness, austerity, and mercy being practiced by human beings, then all good things come, all auspicious things come. These four pillars, which are manifest as the regulative principles of human life, which Krishna describes in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita as the regulative principles of freedom. These are the four pillars. These are what enable the four qualities of truthfulness, austerity, cleanliness, and mercy to be actually present within the character of a person. And so therefore their behavior in the world, their behavior towards others, their behavior towards other men, towards animals, plants, trees, the environment, is very different than what we're seeing now. And in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, we see when Parikshit Maharaj encounters Kali for the first time, he's beating on the legs of the bull, and only one leg is still. He's broken 3 of the legs of the bull. And Prabhupada explains that this is symbolic of the situation at the beginning of the Kali Yuga. That austerity, cleanliness, and mercy are broken. And all that remains is honesty at the beginning of the Kali Yuga. But we can already see that that's being just unraveled all around us all the time. Cheating is very, very prevalent now. Just like this thing where now they've got these, there's this whole thing where people, they ring up old people and convince them to give them their details of their bank account. Then they've got the way of taking all their money. There's a thing now where there's some electronic device where people don't have to pick your pocket anymore. Well, it's the elaboration of what used to be pickpocketing. Now there's an electronic device that you can just hold up to somebody's phone as they're walking along. You just hold it out on their shoulder bag or their hip pocket or wherever, and electronically you've got all their details, and you can do whatever you like with them. We were just talking about Bhakta Rupa. He's trying to get some valves fixed on his car tires, and they're specially designed by the manufacturer, and they cost a lot of money. And he's thinking, well, maybe I can get around it. It's all computerized. And then we started reflecting on that, how ever since somebody made a lock, somebody's trying to work out how to pick that lock. And no matter how complicated the lock may become, somebody will work out a way of picking it. And then you come up to like the rise of computers, the whole thing in World War II of how they had to crack the Enigma code. Such a complicated thing had to be set up because the Enigma code was so complicated. But now the levels of complication that you can create through computerization makes all of that look like tiddlywinks. And so it goes on. And truthfulness is what's the truth of a situation. There's a line from a popular song that says, we live in a time when a man can make a crime so that crime doesn't have a face. To track out who's doing what's going on is so difficult. because there's so many layers of dishonesty, of deception set up. And it's all ultimately destroying the world. It's destroying things. And meantime, everything is actually getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Terrible situation. Terrible, terrible situation. We'll have some questions in a minute. You can ask questions in a minute. There's a little bit more. The last line of this text, he went toward the north, can be understood as follows. By traveling north in India, one comes to the world's highest mountains, the Himalayan range. There, one can still find many beautiful peaks and valleys where there are quiet hermitages suitable for austerity and meditation. Thus, in Vedic culture, quote, going to the north, unquote, indicates renouncing the comforts of ordinary society and going to the Himalayan mountains to practice serious austerities for spiritual advancement. Practicing serious austerities for spiritual advancement. This is the purpose of the human form of life, as opposed to all other forms of life. The human form of life is meant for the practice of austerity for spiritual advancement. The human form of life is meant for spiritual advancement, coming back to the absolute truth of existence, coming back to the understanding of our eternal position. Anything else is violence. That's one of the definitions of violence that Prabhupada gives in the Bhagavad Gita, is that not just to perform violence on physical violence, just even to create confusion is violence. Confusion as to what is the purpose of things, and confusion as to what is the purpose of life is violence, because the human form of life has only one purpose, and that is to get back to our original position, to get out of our entanglement in the illusory situation of the material world. And that is predicated on the ABCD of Bhagavad Gita. The first thing Krishna talks about to Arjuna, it is, we're all eternal beings. Arjuna is put into the illusion of this bodily conception of life. And as a result, he becomes completely confused and completely perplexed and doesn't know what to do. Can't act. And chooses inactivity. But you can't choose inactivity, because later on in the 18th chapter, Krishna, in his summation of things, says, if you don't follow what I wanted you to do, you'll do what you do anyway. But you'll do it for the wrong reasons. You have to do it. We have to act. We are active. So confusion is very bad, because what do I do? You become incapable of acting. And that leads to, that opens the door to the influence of the lower modes of material nature, because you have to take shelter somewhere. So if you're confused, you want out of your confusion. You want relief from your confusion. So then Maya's there, well, here you are. This sense gratification, that sense gratification. You feel better. You feel better. But you don't. You get, as Prabhupada says, you get more and more implicated into the complexities of the illusory energy, and then more confused. more and more confused. So, there has to be a way out of this. There has to be a way out of this. And that's the importance of the Krishna consciousness movement. It's the way out. It's not just another religion in which you're not allowed to do this and you're not allowed to do that. It's the revelation of the absolute truth of existence. And the first principle of existence is, I exist forever. There's never a time when I did not exist. There was never a time. Krishna is so eloquent and so precise in what he says. Never, first of all, he said, never was there a time when I did not exist. But he doesn't, it's very humble, actually, the way Krishna presents this. Because he's saying, you know, I'm the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You, everyone else, we're all eternal. He equates everybody with himself. He equates himself with everybody else. Very important thing. We have to understand that in order to be able to have intimacy of relationship, there has to be equality. Real intimacy is based upon equality. So we're all equal to Krishna in that regard, though, and we're all the same as Krishna. Therefore, Krishna, Prabhupada uses the phrase, again, so eloquently, part and parcel. We're part of Krishna in that we're exactly the same as Krishna, but we're parcel in that we have an individual identity. And therein lies the essence of our philosophy. We're simultaneously one with and different from Krishna. And we need to be educated in this. This is education. Education means to lead out of darkness. Duce means to lead. Educe means out of. So we're all born in darkness, we're born in ignorance, and we have to be gradually led out of that. And the first principle of education is that we are all eternal beings. And as eternal beings, we have an eternal relationship with the Supreme Eternal Being. We have an eternal dependency upon the Supreme Eternal Being. But we've forgotten that. This is the big problem of Kali Yuga. It's all forgotten. It's all forgotten. It's all buried. It's all lost. When Prabhupada went to MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, one of the biggest tertiary education institutions in the world, he said, where is in this great institution is the department that explains to you the nature of the soul? The first principle of knowledge. You are the soul. You are the eternal living being that is at the moment temporarily entangled in this situation. Thank you, sir. And this is how you get out of that. First of all, by understanding this. So important. So important. We keep coming back to it over and over again. Prabhupada comes back to it over and over and over again. You're not this body. You're not this mind. 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 I've heard devotees say, if I hear somebody say that in class one more time, I'll scream. But we forget. Over and over and over and over again, we forget. Because we're conditioned souls now. Beautiful verses in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says from 7, 8, 9, where are we? 15th chapter. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the 6 senses, which include the mind. The living entity in the material world, carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another, as the air carries aromas. Thus he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another. In this verse, the living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of eye, ear, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. You can do amazing things with computers now of what they call it morphing, where very quickly you can have one face, the human face, and then very quickly you can morph it into the face of a raccoon and the face of you've still got eyes, nose, you've got all the senses, but they're so different, and the objects of the senses are so different for each species of life. And actually, every species of life has a particular, what does it say here? Has a particular set of sense objects. And we've been there and done it all. And we don't, how many times? How many times have we taken birth as an anteater, think of all the exotic species. Been there, done that. And the things that people that you're forced to do in every species of life. You have to eat in a certain way. You have to mate in a certain way. You have to, you become aware of things around you in different ways. Just like, that's why they say, like the snake puts its tongue out, because those two things are, they're senses. And then you got, these antennae on animals, on insects and things. They're sensing the world. So we're trapped in this. We're trapped in it. Once you're in, you're in. You can't, there's no way out. Material world's labyrinthine on infinite dimensions, infinite variegatedness. That's another inconceivable quality of the Lord. He creates a finite space called the universe, but within the universe, there's infinite variegatedness. It just goes on and on and on and on and on. There's no end to it. So at some time, you have to go up north and understand.
Yesterday.
And actually, it's put here very nicely, because it says going up north, going to the north, indicates renouncing the comforts of ordinary society and going. There you have it. So going up north. Going north means actually withdrawing from the hurly-burly of it all. Because it just gets cranked up. It just keeps getting cranked up more and more and more and more. You have to withdraw. And this is the purpose of ashram life. Ashram life means withdrawal from the hurly-burly of the world. doing useful activities. There's a verse in the second chapter of the Bhagavatam, Dhamma swanushtita pumsam vishvakshena katasubhyaha notpada yed yadiratim shrama eva hi kevala. That your dharma, whatever authorized Vedic dharmas or concocted dharmas that you get involved in, if those activities don't awaken you to your actual position of love of God, love of Krishna, then it's a useless waste of time. And the word is shram. Shrama means a useless waste of time. So what is the opposite of shrama? Ashrama. Ashram. Ashram life is genuinely fruitful because it brings us back to reality. It helps us extract ourselves from the illusion of the bodily conception of life and become fixed in what is called in the Shastra sambandha, re-establishing the relationship that exists eternally between ourselves and the Lord. It's a very interesting lecture a few days ago Shivaram Maharaj gave about watering the creeper of devotion. He talked on verse 152 of chapter 19 of Madhya Lila, Madhya Lila Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is Lord Chaitanya's instructions to Rupa Goswami. And this is the verse where he begins about how you receive the seed of bhakti, the seed of the bhakti lata from the spiritual master, and then you have to water this. And it goes on how you have to develop the mentality of a gardener. It's very, very nice that you've got a garden now. You've got the allotment. I would suggest to everybody, try and spend a little bit of time on the allotment. And then you begin to understand what it means to be a gardener and how you have to do the right thing at the right time to get the right result. And you have to be patient and you have to be constant in your activities. And the result will be there. So in the purport of that verse, 152, Prabhupada explains that, actually Shivaram Maharaj gives a really nice introduction where he says, people get this idea that at the time when you sit down to get initiated, somehow or another, mystically some seed is put into your heart. But in the purport of that verse, Prabhupada explains that the bhakti lata, the seed of devotional service, is the practices that we have, the practices that we're given, and the rules and the regulations that are the guardrails to those practices to create this wholesome situation. So he says, actually, therefore, your initiation begins as soon as you begin to hear these things. Formal initiation that now I'm on board with this, I'm committed to this, is one thing. But as soon as you start to give submissive oral reception to this philosophy, your initiation has begun. That's why Prabhupada stresses so much the distribution of his books. Again, Rameshwar Prabhu was giving a lecture earlier this year. One devotee told me, I can't remember who told me this, memory is. But the devotee explained that Rameshwar Prabhu was giving a class, and he started telling his reminiscences of how Prabhupada had explained to him the importance of book distribution and the gradual involvement of people in the Sankirtan movement, where he said, first off, they may just see a book, And then and maybe that's all in this lifetime. But then in the next lifetime, it'll be arranged that they don't just see a book, they might have the book in their hand. They might look at it and hold it in their hand. And that may be all. But then the next time, they may open it and read some. And so it goes. So our initiation into, or that's the importance of 10,000 years of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan, that it gives a lot of chances to conditioned souls. 10,000 years is a long time. Well, we did a rough calculation one time, was say an average life of 70 years. Yeah. So 70 into 10,000 came out to like 130 lifetimes. So it may well just be that's what you've got ahead of you. Over 100 lifetimes of this process of initiation into reality. Anyway, this is all based upon what's being explained here. One has to give up the idea that we're living in a paradise, a pastime place, a place where we have our pastimes. Like it says here, we who are enamored of ourselves and our environment can perhaps imagine the superior beauty and living conditions available to people in former ages. But beyond that, we can not just imagine, we can get tangible information of the absolute truth of beauty and living conditions, which is the spiritual world. And we can go back there. We can actually go back to the spiritual world from here, from now, from the situation we're in now. It's not actually a very long time or a very long journey before we are back in Krishna's association. That's a fact. That's a fact. But you have to want it, and you have to therefore be prepared, like Muchukunda, to do a little austerity. Austerity is not a thing we're very much attracted to in the Kali Yuga. We want a luxurious life. But if we prepared to practice some austerity, just like being patient while this process does its work on us. Well, Enechi Asaudi Maya, Bhaktivinoda says, this is the medicine for Maya. This is the medicine that will cure us of our illusion. And it's very simple in its essence. We have all this philosophy to back it up. But the simple point is you just have to practice the austerity of hearing and chanting the holy name of the Lord. Prabhupada says many places, just listen to this sound vibration. Just listen to it. One time on a morning walk, one very earnest American devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, what should you think about while you're chanting your rounds? And Prabhupada said, where is the question of thinking? You just chant and hear. Now that's an austerity. That's an austerity. To just turn off the noise of the mind and focus on this sound. But it's inconceivably powerful in its effect upon us. But the austerity is to stick with it in this world of distraction. There's a distraction everywhere. We're born into distraction. As soon as we're able to comprehend anything, we're presented with the distraction that you're a boy, you're a girl. Your name is Helena, and your name is Leon. That's a distraction. That's not true, because I am not this. I am not this. Hare Krishna. You had a question. Were you the lady? I'm sorry, you were the lady who sent that jade bracelet to my wife?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Yeah. That was a wonderful letter you wrote.
Thank you.
I think, yes, go on.
You said, and after that, everything went small.
Yeah.
Is time also becomes small, like the day becomes small? Because
Yeah.
my feeling these
Everything.
days is shortened. The more there is turmoil on the world,
Everything's
the more the
changing.
time. When I was a kid, like after school and holiday, like the 3 months was a lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
I lived life.
Yeah.
Now a day just start at 4 o'clock, and I say, "Where is the day?"
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
like everything.
Just one day, I remember as a kid on the beach, summer, you think this day's never going to end.
Of course,
But now you turn around, it's gone.
it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. Things are changing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for all.
But as the saying goes,
Yeah.
we ain't seen nothing yet.
Ah, yes, that's what we hear.
It just gets worse and worse in the Kali Yuga.
And best yet to come.
But the point is, we talked a bit about this last night.
Yeah.
Even though this life is short,
Yeah.
and things are getting shorter, subjectively, we have to live it moment by moment. So the beauty of this process is that even though all these things are happening, the power of the holy name to clear away all of the effects of the Kali Yuga is inconceivable.
And Kali is the goddess of what? Because what is Kali?
Kali, not Kali. Kali. It's not goddess Kali. It's Kali. Kali is the this is the age of Kali, who the age of Kali destroys all the good qualities of the human being, basically, and along with it, everything just as it all, well, the quality of the world is dependent upon the quality of the human being, the character of human beings. And as the character of human beings goes down, then the supply of the needs of life, or the quality of the needs of life goes down, because of the impiety of consciousness. Everything depends upon the consciousness of human beings. So therefore, Krishna consciousness, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, because consciousness goes down from the point where you forget Krishna. Prabhupada explains, actually, consciousness means Krishna consciousness. If you're not conscious of Krishna and Krishna's role in everything as the Bhagavan, then everything begins to reduce, because you can't live in denial of the truth. You can live the lie. You can live the lie, but the lie just spirals you down into more and more lies, more and more unreality.
Get you out of the reality.
Sorry?
Get us out of the reality.
It gets us into this unreal situation. The Bhagavatam begins by saying that the universes are unreal. They appear to be something, but they're not that. This is Maya. We're in Maya, that which is not. It appears to be something, but it's not what it appears to be.
Yeah.
Illusion. That's the nature of illusion. But then Prabhupada explains, just like with the mirage in the desert, there's no water there, but there's water somewhere else. So we need to know, we need to get connected again to reality, to that which does not change. Everything changes in this world. Constantly changing, either quickly or imperceptibly over a huge period of time. Everything changes. But in the spiritual world, nothing, although time moves, nothing fades away. Nothing is destroyed by time. But in the material world, everything is destroyed by time. It's a particular manifestation of the Lord, a form of the Lord, in which everything in the material world is contained and controlled. Like they say, it's only a matter of time. But that doesn't apply to the spiritual world.
Yeah.
And that's where we come from, and that's where we have to get back to. But you can only get back to where you came from by following the roadmap. You have to follow the map, and that map is Bhakti Yoga. The roadmap to the soul and the roadmap to God is the practice of Bhakti Yoga. Bhaktyamam abhijanati javan jastasmi tattvata tato mam tattvato gyatva vishate tadanantaram. I can be understood as I am, and therefore you can only understand yourself as you are, as you actually are, by the practice of bhakti. Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan jastasmi tattvata. Tattvata means in truth. Only by bhakti. No other way. No other way. And it's very simple in this age, because we don't have a great propensity for austerity. We don't have the wealth to perform huge sacrifices or deity worship on a grand scale. But we can practice this process of sadhana that Lord Chaitanya gives us, that we chant the holy name and we offer service to the Lord in the deity form. And gradually, clarity comes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So do we have any other questions or realizations from the room? And the devotees in Zoom land, if you could raise a hand if you would like to ask a question based on what you've heard. Anybody in the room first?
You said that in Kali Yuga, like the quality of people's needs is going down.
Quality of
People's needs.
Yeah. Quality of people's desires.
Okay. So if by like practicing devotional service, we're trying to understand that real sustenance is like a spiritual need as opposed to a material, how do we interact with, that's my question, like how do we interact with people who don't feel like their sustenance is spiritual?
How do we interact with people who
They don't feel like their sustenance comes from like a spiritual place. If they are identifying their needs as very material needs, how do we interact, how do we fulfill their needs as like a friend or a family member?
Srila Prabhupada used to say prasadam is our secret weapon. Everybody has to eat every day. Yeah. I remember my father was totally inimical to Krishna consciousness. He was so angry with me. Wrote me out of his will, everything. And Sarah and I got married in 1982 in England. And my parents, I didn't even tell them because I knew they wouldn't come. And then it was 6 years before I went to Australia and introduced Sava to my parents. So we went down there in 88. And it was pretty prickly, the whole thing. But she started cooking for him. And I said, make little patties, little like, in I don't know what they call them here, but in Australia, don't mind it. You take mincemeat and you make like a little burger. They call them rissoles. I don't know what that means, but my father loved rissoles, well cooked. So I said to her, look, make some little, carrot and beetroot patty with a bit of chickpea and fry it really well and give him that. He loved it. Mm-hmm. He just couldn't get enough of it. Yeah. So there was no way you were going to talk philosophy to him. He was. Poor man. But he loved those results. So
he loved me too.
And then he loved her. And then he loved her. His heart was affected like that. So you don't, on the one hand, you don't have to know you're taking poison for it to kill you. And on the other hand, you don't have to know that the medicine is there in what you're taking. That it's gonna have medicine and enichi also di maya. This is the medicine for the maya. So prasadam distribution is so important. Prabhupada stressed book distribution, prasadam distribution, and harinam. If those things were going on at an equal level all around, then that would be wonderful. So in your own life, with like situations, especially with family members, you can't talk to someone who doesn't want to understand. Submission is essential. One has to first of all, in order to gain knowledge, the first thing you have to be honest about is I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? We live in a world where, your truth, so that's your truth, I got my truth, you be you, I'll be me, you do you, I'll do me. It's all relative. Well, no, it's not. There is objective reality, there is objective truth. But unless somebody wants to know that, then you can't say anything about it. Krishna doesn't instruct Arjuna until Arjuna says, now I'm a soul surrendered to you, please instruct me. So most of the world is never going to be like that. Never. But everybody has to eat every day.
Yeah.
There could be, and that would, people with a good Vaishya mentality can start huge food businesses in this world distributing prasadam. But on a local level, you know, your father, your whatever, doesn't give him a result. Yeah.
Whereas your sister has had so much prasadam,
Oh,
and in the end, she didn't. She was kind of blaming her stomach problems on my cooking.
yeah. Oh, hopeless cases.
She was she's much worse than your father.
Oh, yeah, she hopeless cases. But at the same time, I've seen some amazing changes in people just by getting prasadam. In the early late 70s, I used to work with Corman. We had a downtown preaching center in Melbourne, and he'd cook up prasadam. I'd do the chop up and help him. But we'd take this prasadam down to this place, and all kinds of, and then there was other, you know, devotees giving out the leaflets on the streets. All kinds of strange people would come into our little preaching center. And I remember there was this one woman came in one time. She was obnoxious. She was dirty. She was foul-mouthed. But you know, we just gave her prasadam, and off she went. And it was short, and she kept coming back. And at that time, I was going to have to go to Sydney to help organize the Rath Yatra. So I only saw her a few times, and then I was away, and I was away for quite some time. And then, because I ended up staying in Sydney for a few months for other things. And then when I came back to Melbourne, I got back into it with Cormer, and first day I went down, and we got to and he didn't say anything to me about anything. And we got to the preaching center, and there's this really nice woman there in a sari and tilak, and she greets us, and I'm like, who's this? What? And then I looked at her, and it's that woman.
Wow.
It's that woman. And I said, what happened? He said, well, she just kept coming in every day, and I just fed her. So you might not see. There's a saying that it's a sign of greatness in a society when people plant trees, especially the old men plant trees under the shade of which they will not sit. We don't know the future of these people, what Lord Chaitanya has in store for them. Whatever their condition may be now, just like Krishna says to Arjuna when he shows the universal form, they're already dead, Arjuna, by my arrangement. And then what does he say? You can be but an instrument in the fight. So our privilege, and it is a privilege, is to mold ourselves to become instruments in the fight. And that's based upon saving yourself first. Because saving yourself is an experiential process. We have to have and be observant of the process of purification of our own consciousness through these practices and through the following of these principles. We become observant. Oh yes, I'm different. I'm changing. Devotion, direct experience of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and a disinterest in other things develops as soon as you seriously take to the process of bhakti yoga, of sadhana bhakti. And you can't deny that. And you don't need, as I say, you don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. So just like that verse in the 11th canto, the 242, 11.242, where it's explained that devotion, direct experience of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and a fading interest in anything else develop simultaneously when one takes to the process of devotional service. Just like one experiences the pleasure of eating, the relief of hunger, and sustenance from the foodstuffs simply by eating. And you don't need somebody to tell you that. You experience it. So when before Krishna gets down to the nitty-gritty of his instructions about bhakti yoga in chapters 7 through 12, he concludes his instructions on yoga, principles and practices, basic principles and practices of yoga, at the end, in the 6th chapter, in verse 32. After verse 32, it's like, that's the end of the class, and then there's a question section at the end of chapter 6. Verse 33 to the end of the chapter is a question and answer session. But actually, Krishna ends his instructions about yoga in verse 32, where he says, Atmapalmyena samyas Atmapalmyena savatra saman pasyati yorjuna sukham va yadi va dukam sa yogi paramo mataha. He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress, O Arjuna. Very important, pivotal verse. And what Prabhupada says in the purport is so revealing. Short purport, we'll end with this one paragraph. One who is Krishna conscious is a perfect yogi. He is aware of everyone's happiness and distress by dint of his own personal experience. The cause of the distress of a living entity is forgetfulness of his relationship with God. And the cause of happiness is knowing Krishna to be the supreme enjoyer of all the activities of the human being, the proprietor of all lands and planets, and the sincerest friend of all living entities. That's an embedded verse. Who knows the verse? You find this in Prabhupada's purports, what we call embedded verses. That's literally the translation of 529. Yes, we could go back to that. There's another, it's so interconnected, all of this. Anyway, we'll carry on here. We haven't got time to do more. The perfect yogi knows that the living being who is conditioned by the modes of material nature is subjected to the threefold material miseries due to forgetfulness of his relationship with Krishna. And because one in Krishna consciousness is happy, he tries to distribute the knowledge of Krishna everywhere. Since the perfect yogi tries to broadcast the importance of becoming Krishna conscious, he is the best philanthropist in the world, and he is the dearest servitor of the Lord. Nacha tasman manusheshu kaschin me priya kritamaha. Bhagavad Gita 1869. In other words, a devotee of the Lord always looks to the welfare of all living entities, and in this way he is factually the friend of everyone. He is the best yogi because he does not desire perfection in yoga for his personal benefit, but tries for others also. He does not envy his fellow living entities. Here is a contrast between a pure devotee of the Lord and a yogi interested only in his personal elevation. The yogi who has withdrawn to a secluded place in order to meditate perfectly may not be as perfect as a devotee who is trying his best to turn every man toward Krishna consciousness. So there you have it. Just become an instrument in the fight and become a warrior on the field. And every warrior's got his kit. You've got your weapons. And we see, Prabhupada used to say, this prasadam is our secret weapon. He said they should come to our center, take prasadam, and never leave. Hare Krishna. It's time to finish, I think, yes. I'm sorry.
Is there anything missing from anybody else? Okay then, I think, do you want to, because we've had another baby pastime in the meditation garden, so would you like to hear?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, say what happened.
What happened now?
So a couple came in the shop a few days ago, and they were coming with this mysterious face, and they said, "We go to the garden." And I said, "Yeah, of course, yeah, go to the garden." And they just stood and with this mysterious face, and eventually they came out with it that a few months ago they came to the garden and prayed to Krishna for a baby, which they tried for a long time and they couldn't have it. And now the lady has a big baby bump. and so that was the mysterious face, like, and now I am pregnant. And we came to show, and I told them that we had another similar story before, and they got inspired. Yes, when the baby born, we will bring him and show him to Krishna. So it's the second time it happened.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. They are from Tunbridge Wells.
So,
Tunbridge Wells. Yeah.
from Tunbridge Wells.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they were so happy. Yeah. It's, they really thought that it was Krishna giving them the baby.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
It was.
All right.
Yeah,
That's it?
it's a very decent.
Okay, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us on Zoom. Big thank you to His Grace Bhagavat Prabhu for giving yet another amazing class. One of the best classes I've ever heard, that Prabhu. Thank you so much. Seriously. So
Take a couple of paracetamol, get a bit of rest, you'll feel better.
we'll be back again tomorrow, so 8 AM for another class from Bhagavat Prabhu. And those that are in the locality, tomorrow Sunday, we'll be having Harinam street chanting at 3 PM and the Sunday feast program at 4 PM. Class given again by Bhagavat Prabhu. So thank you for joining us. We wish you a very peaceful and happy Krishna conscious day, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Hare Krishna.
Ramsara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Srila Prabhupada ki Shri Singha ki Shishinatagara Sunda ki Tulsi Devi ki Vaishnav Sangha Vaishnav Seva ki Gauda Pramana. Hare Krishna. See you tomorrow.
Hare Krishna.